Good afternoon. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything is working and you can all see me. I don't know if you can because fingers crossed. Susan, the wheel of death has gone. Hi Janice. Hi Pat. I don't know if I've missed anybody. Hi Debbie. It looks like we're back. I just got this blank screen come up. Hi Emma. I didn't think we'd seen you around for a while. Yeah, so I just got a black screen come up and it said the parameters are not correct. Server error. And I was booted. How rude. Anyway, hi Carol. Fingers crossed you are now all watching. Why is it? Why does it always have to go wrong? Hi Catherine. Hi Janet. Hi Margaret. Hopefully I'm not frozen on YouTube anymore, Margaret. Fingers crossed. We're back up and running. It looks like it. All good. Yay. When I get the all good from Martin, we're good to go. So, what we're going to do today, I'm going to do some men's cards. Now, I thought I was all set up, ready to go last night. And then in the middle of the night, I had a brainwave on something. I thought, oh, I'm going to give that a go. You shouldn't do the brainwaves when you think you're organised, should you? So I finished it about 20 minutes ago. So, hi Veronica. Hi Sharon. I'm not going to have to stop saying hi to everybody because you're all coming in really thick and fast and I don't want to miss anybody. Thank you, Joe. Right, so let's flip this round to here. Thank you, I'm unfrozen apparently. Frozen in time forever. So today we are going to be using our new Funky Lines stencil. Let me get rid of this one. There we go. So we've got the Funky Line stencil, which may look a little bit familiar. We had a die that was slightly narrower than this. Janice just on Facebook. Okay. Hi David. So it was slightly narrower, slightly longer. So this one is a 7x7. And then we have our paint splats, stencils and mask. So you've got the masks still connected in there on some of them. Some of them have worked themselves loose, but you don't get all these tiny little dots. They've done as much of the mask as possible, but you don't get all of it. Oh, this would work really well, Tracy, for the one that I dreamt of in the middle of the night. For a 21st birthday card. And then we are going to be using the star from Shining Star, the birthday sentiment, and this little square here. We're going to be using some of the little dots that are on here and this section here. We're actually going to complete 2 cards today. And they are not going to be speedies. I've done a lot of prep work ahead so that I can just give you the basics on how to make it. But I've done most of the work ahead of us, so hopefully. Hi, Christine. Nothing on YouTube. Oh, that's weird. We're working on Facebook. Martin, if you're still watching, maybe you can have a look and see if we are on YouTube. Hopefully, Joe, it's on its way if you've ordered it. Right, so we're also going to be using our white cardstock that comes in 250 or 300 GSM. And then we have also got the black that we do in 300 GSM, or this one is in 250. I've used the 250 on this particular cards because it keeps the weight down on them if you are posting them. Sorry, the 120, not the 250. So we're all good on YouTube too now, apparently. So we will be using our sticky glue that comes in the 2 sizes, one 20mm and the 30mm, VersaFine Onyx Black, crystal clear embossing powder. We'll be using our blending brushes. I'm going to clear these as we go and then maybe I won't drop them all like I normally do. But that isn't guaranteed. And then the first card we will be using these colours, Black Soot, Hickory Smoke and Lost Shadow. And then, oh my lord, all the YouTubes just suddenly flew at me. And then Barn Door, Carved Pumpkin and Squeezed Lemonade on the second card. Fingers crossed. So, I'm running out of places to put things, people. If you could see behind the scenes, we'll have to go up the top there with those ones. It's absolute madness on here. Right, so the first card, 8x8 card. I have a piece of black that's cut into 7.5 by 7.5 and a piece of white which is 7 by 7. That's all you need for this one. I'm not going to say that about the next one because the next card's got lots of pieces in it, but if you've got a special card to make, it's perfect. So I'm glad it's arrived, Joe. I know that we've been having a few things go adrift with Royal Mail and taking forever to get there, so hopefully Royal Mail have got on top of themselves again. So we are taking our Funky Line stencil. Just going to move that up out of the way a little bit. I've got a hair that's tickling my eye and it's driving me mad. And then we're going to take, let me get myself organised here. I really think I shouldn't have done that. Is it just me, or am I the only one that's just worked out that your ink lid fits perfectly underneath your oxide? I never even thought about it, but it does. Never thought about it before now, but I'm right chuffed now that I know that, because it means I've got to find space for my lids as well. So, and then we have our blending brushes. Now we are using 2 different sizes on this one because I haven't got a black in the big one here at the moment. So we're going to take our blending brushes and load our brush. Now I'm kind of going to go from the outside in, but you can do this however you want. Remember, when I make these cards, I'm making them from how I fancy them being. They don't have to be done exactly the same way that I do them. All I'm trying to do is pick up a little bit of the black all the way around. I'm going to just move that for a second because I always work better with my inks right a bit closer to me than when they have to be up the top there. And the lovely thing about this board is I can move things around to where I want them to be. So all I'm trying to do is get a little bit of that colour that I'm using all the way around the edge. Now there's a couple of little pieces on here that you need to think about. If I did a circle on this particular piece, and I'll show you up close in a minute, it's going to move the lines because they're quite fine lines. So I'm just going to blend that in the direction that those lines are going. And I'm not laying huge amounts of ink down. I agree. I'm like, all this time I'm always worrying if I put the lids on the right one sometimes, because some of the colours, particularly the browns, when there's no lids on them, are really close in colour. So I was quite impressed with myself when I discovered that last night. I'm sat here on my own yesterday afternoon prepping for today, and it literally, I went, oh wow, I think people must have thought I'd lost the plot. If anybody could have heard me, they'd have thought I'd lost the plot. So I'm just literally going around the edge. And again, same in this bottom corner here, work with the lines rather than against the lines. And you can always go back and add more colour, but you can't take it away. So think about that when you're doing it. And now we're going to go in again with, this is our Hickory Smoke. And again, you've got those lines there, so just be mindful of them. You don't want that to do too much moving around. And then last but not least, Lost Shadow. Now Lost Shadow, depending on what colour you put it with. If you put this with some pinks, it does pink. See, Margaret, I'm not the only one. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I mean, they're not a perfect fit. Look, let's have this discussion. They're not a perfect fit. but it stores them out of the way, doesn't it? You can put them up either way and they're out of the way. And as I said, it was a real wow moment in this house when I discovered that. So as I was saying, with the Lost Shadow, if I put this with a pink, it does take on a little bit of a pink hue, which is a bit odd. You're very I've labelled all mine too, but I'm still not always convinced that I've got the right colours. So I'm quite impressed with myself for my wow moment. Right, so I'm just going to check how I think that is looking. Yeah, we're going to go with that. I'm not going any further with it. Now, obviously, I have got black ink on here, and black goes a long, long way. So I would, it's a bit like that mustard seed, it goes on forever. So I would pop that in some warm water, or just get that wiped over quite quickly. Only because, if you're like me, you'll put something on top of it. See? Oh, I'm so glad I'm not the only one that didn't know that, Susan. See, we do like a little win. That was my little win. So bear with me, I'm just going to quickly take off the majority of that ink. Just because I'm going to end up putting something on top of it otherwise, and I would be really cross with myself. Right. Oh, we've got a day out of the office. How exciting, Sarah. Right, so that is our image done. Just going to put my board out of the way. And as I was mentioning earlier, this is what I mean by the lines are really, really fine on that top section, on wherever these are. So just work with them rather than going round in a blending circle. I would work with them. Hopefully that made sense to you. Right, so that's the worst part done. Now, depending on what colour you want to go with, choice is yours. I am going to go with black and brave it. I'm just going to take the real harsh white away. Again, you don't have to. These are all little things that I wanted to do, but you don't have to. If you want to leave that completely white with just the black, you can. Or just the three blended colours. And I also find if you aren't the most confident of blenders, working with stencils or with dies to get the practice for your blending is so much easier because it's not such a big piece to concentrate on. The next card will be concentrating on lots of big pieces. As I said, I've done quite a lot of it ahead, but just be aware, if you're not the most confident of blenders, you don't have to necessarily blend the inks. If you want to use a patterned paper, welcome, Elizabeth. I'm glad you've managed to join us. Hopefully you'll enjoy the Facebook Lives and you'll be able to come back and join us again. Right. So I just, as I said, wanted to take that real white away. So we are now where we are. I'm just getting myself organised because we're going to have lots coming in and out of this now. So we are going to head over to use the Shining Star. And we're not using the actual star of this one, we're going to use that in the next one. We are using some of the sentiments. I did try and do a little bit of tidying up before, and I probably shouldn't have done because I probably need most of what I've put away anyway. But hey ho, it is what it is. My goodness, somebody's outside our house ringing on their phone, and it's so loud I can hear it up here. Right, before I go any further, I am going to blast this with the heat gun, purely because I'm going to be putting some embossing powder on here, and this will not be dry enough yet really for that. So I'm literally going to just give it some help. Flip it over and I'll take this one like that. But we will also be using an anti-static bag on this as well. Give it as much help as you want. I'm popping these out of the way because I think we're pretty much done with those now. So if I can clear up a little bit as I'm going, it might make our life a little bit easier when we get to the next one, because it's using a lot of papers. So hopefully that's the worst of that out of our way. Right, and that's just giving that a little bit more time to dry. So anti-static bag. This will take it, I may not do the whole thing because I have got one already done, and I may just give you the ideas and then show you the finished. But we'll see how time goes. You don't want to be listening to me for hours and hours on end. So we have got our happy birthday sentiment from the Shining Start set, and I put it on the block and lots of little light taps to put the ink down onto the stamp. Now I'm going to pop it up in this corner. Now on this particular stamp, the happy and to you are tiny little pieces. Let me see, can I get my finger up to there? So I'm going to line those up within this section here, but that is entirely your choice as to where you position it. Your card, your style. But you kind of need a point of reference for them. I will apologise right now, my fingernails are every colour under the sun because I've worked with every colour under the sun today. Hi Carol, bye Carol. So we've popped our sentiment down, and then we've got the crystal clear embossing powder, and we're going to place that over the top. As you can see, that is why we did the anti-static and why we heated it a little bit to try and dry it off. Now, I'm not sure if you heard anything going on there, but somebody tried to ring me. So we're just going to heat this from underneath now. So I didn't do anything while you were all, well, whoever it was trying to ring me. That's the problem when we're using the phones. Now, as you all know, I heat from underneath because it puts a barrier between the air that blows out of the heat gun and the embossing powder, which gives you a smoother finish. Now, do not panic if you start to see a little bit of smoke coming out from behind this. I've been doing this for years, and if it catches on fire, then obviously you're going to be panicking. But you will maybe see a little bit of smoke, and that is the oxide doesn't necessarily like to be heated, and obviously we're heating it and heating embossing powder. So don't panic. I am in control of it, and I will keep going back with that embossing anti-static bag because I kind of want this to be quite crisp. So we are now in with our little strips. And again, another little tip I would suggest you do is try and get these little strips onto your block straight. And the reason I'm saying that is because when you come to put them down, if they're not on straight, your block will give you an illusion, and everything else is in a straight line on here. So once one goes out, then you're going to have to make them all wonky. Which is fine if that's what you want to do. Now I'm going to try and be big and brave and try and get a couple in quick smart before I put the embossing powder on. You don't want to work with too many before you put the embossing powder on, because as we all know, this ink is not particularly friendly to embossing powder. So just be aware of that. I'm not going to keep tipping it back in the pot because I don't need to at this point. I think it needs any more big ones. So just be careful when you're doing this, if you're not going to tip it all off each time. You don't want to be knocking the extra embossing powder off. if you're not hugely confident with embossing, each time you put the powder on, I would heat it. So you're going to go back in again and heat from underneath. And then I think that'll be it with that size. Oh, this is weird because I can hear my heat gun still going downstairs, because they do have a slight delay on these, on the going live recording and actually hitting you guys. And it is only a couple of seconds, but it's really weird when you can hear it actually happening. I might regret making that third move, but it's too late now. So you're literally just going to keep building this up. And you've all gone super quiet on me now after all hitting me with your hellos. So I hope you're enjoying it. As I said, if you do start to see smoke, just move your heat gun away, let it cool down, and then you can go back in. Weird when everybody goes quiet on me. I say this in my workshops. So, I think last time we were on, I announced our new workshop here near Bury St Edmunds. So we have one on the when is it? 27th of January at the Ravenwood Hotel near Bury St Edmunds. It's a village called Rougham, just outside Bury St Edmunds. Super easy to get to, straight off the A14. Lots and lots of parking, really lovely little hotel. So they're going to provide us with our lunch and everything as well, so we don't have to worry about that. So if you're interested in it, there's some information over on our website, which is www.honeydewcrafts.co.uk. And if the questions aren't answered there, feel free to give me a call and I will happily answer any questions. There's lots of you on here that do come to some of our workshops, so it would be lovely for you to just maybe make a comment on Facebook or something, just to let people know. It's really difficult when you're new to doing workshops for the company to know what to expect, so I will quite happily take good and bad. Hopefully not too many bad comments, so ladies and gents. So yeah, it's on the 27th of January at the Ravenwood Hall Hotel. We've also got one in Coventry on the 18th of November. We had a couple of ladies that have had to cancel, so we've got a couple of spaces there. What else? Oh, and because the Newcastle workshop is so popular and it sold out the same afternoon that we released it, we have taken the option for a second day up in Newcastle. So if you would like to join us for a workshop in Newcastle, we now have the 21st of April as well. You are honoured because the 21st of April is my birthday and I'm going to teach you a workshop. And there's another lady that's joining us who also has her birthday on the same day, so we will celebrate both. It's going to be a busy weekend. So as I say, I'm just keep building this up. I don't know which ones I've put embossing powder on and which ones I haven't at this moment in time. Didn't think I'd done that one. As I say, it takes a few minutes to build it up, but you don't always want a card that you complete in 5 minutes, do you? As nice as sometimes they are, it's nice to transform a flat stencil to something a little bit more interesting. just with your inks and some embossing powder. So far so good. So can you see what we're doing? Just literally adding a little bit more detail into those. I've got to refill my pot now because I've done too many. Don't know if we need any more of that one. Yeah, a couple more I think. So I'm just using the stencil to kind of guide me into some areas to pop some interest. And this stencil's fab for that. My goodness, we're 26 seconds, 20 minutes in already, we're 26 minutes in already. Where does the time go? This is going to be a long Facebook Live, ladies and gents. I did say I wasn't going to do this whole thing, but I've got a bit carried away, and now I think, well, you're there, you might as well finish it. What I'm going to do, though, is give myself stickies already. So now we've swapped over, and these are like the half pieces. And again, just because I didn't want them all to be exactly the same. Ooh, I'm braving it. Fourth. And I know the men's cards are really difficult to do, so hence I decided to do a couple of men's cards. And they're just as hard for us to do, to come up with ideas for too, believe it or not. But hopefully, and also, although I'm saying these are men's cards, just by changing up the colours, and not necessarily, you don't always have to change the colours. Some ladies quite like the black and white. I quite like the black and white. They make great teenagers cards. They're fab. I quite often find that the men's cards, just by changing the colours, you can use for both. And as I say, for teenagers and such like, it's quite nice. Gives you some different ideas. So as you can see, kind of just going with what shapes are around for me. And this particular set of stamps works really well with this for that exact reason. I'm going to go off-piste and brave it. Oh, I forgot that Mum hadn't seen what I was going to do today, and she's just commented. I completely forgot I hadn't shown it yet. It's quite nice, Mum, you get a surprise. As I say, we are building this up. It isn't a 2-second job, but it's not too bad really, considering you've seen this literally from the start. So we are right now. We're going to go for the next size up, and I knew that was going to bug me. I'm going to wipe that off. I'm going to swap over to the bigger block because my fingers are going to hit that ink pad every time, and that will drive me mad. So back to the bigger block, and that I'm doing everything that I tell you not to do, because I'm going straight to the ink pad rather than taking the ink pad to my stamp. But it is just purely for speed for this one, because if I don't, we'll be here forever. it with the dots. We're going to go in with a few stars quickly, and then it's done. And I was quite shocked just by how much difference by adding these little stars in made to this particular card. So let me know what you think when we're there. Just going to put these away because I'm going to lose them. And we'll take our 3 little stars. There's a method to my madness, promise. So. Don't want to go get too carried away with this, because we need to get some embossing powder on there before they dry. So don't be tempted to keep going all the way through like I was tempted. I'm not going to heat them just yet. I am going to go and keep putting them down, but make sure you put that embossing powder on every so often, otherwise they will be dry before you can emboss them. And you don't want that. Yeah, I think that's probably enough of the individuals. Nearly just dropped all my embossing powder on the floor. And if I was in a hotel, that wouldn't be my problem, but I'm not. I'm in my craft room, and it would have been my problem. And I wouldn't have been best happy with myself. Right, so I'm just going to quickly heat those stars up. I did warn you this was going to be a longer Facebook Live than normal. So hopefully you can bear with us and enjoy what we're doing. I think that's all of those. One more lot of stars to do and we're done, ladies and gents. So I'm just going to put all of these together. I want them close to each other as I can get them. 3 stars. And it's only because I felt these 3 pieces after everything else looked like they needed a little bit of help. They looked a bit dull. Can you believe it? I just nearly did it again. I've jinxed myself, I think. Embossing powder nearly all went on the floor. Thank the Lord it didn't. I would have cried live on Facebook Live. So, again, quickly heat that up. Ah, Margaret, you're the lady that asked me to do the longer shows. Well, you'll be happy that it was longer today because it will be. I knew somebody had asked me, but I wasn't sure what your name was. But now I know. I did mention in last week's Facebook Live that somebody had said about wanting a longer one. So it's definitely going to be longer today because we'd normally be thinking about wrapping it up now, wouldn't we? So you get me all the way through. So that is it. Now look, they are almost exactly the same. Look, you would have thought I was following something, wouldn't you? So just because this one has had so much embossing, I would like to leave that a little bit of time to settle and relax a little bit on the cardstock. So I'm going to use the one that I did last night. That is the only reason I'm doing that. And we are going to stick this down. I've had to pinch Mum's glue because between now and the last show that we were at, my bottles of glue have emigrated somewhere. I've put them somewhere safe, and when I went to stick stuff down this afternoon, couldn't find them, so we've pinched Mother's. Emma, you obviously did pick the right one to watch today. So that's the embossing powder that I spilt everywhere, coming out of the woodwork. Now it's up to you which way up you're going to do it. I am just going to do it a standard size, standard way round. That is the outside of our card finished. I'm coming a little bit closer, you can see, and if you can just catch the light on there, you can see that we've got the shiny bits, which really makes it pop. As I always say, don't forget about your inside. Now, if you don't want to go in and mess around with your stencil again, you don't have to, but I am going to. But I'm just going to do it with the hickory smoke. I'm not going to get all the colours involved in this time. And I'm just going to take a little section of it, because as you all know, this is my thing. Don't forget the inside of your cards. And I'm not going to go full on heavy colour, and you don't need to put lots and lots on the inside, just a little subtle nod to what you've done on the outside. Now I went over the edge a bit here because I wasn't concentrating, so we will try and mask that a little with the circle. There we go. Oh well, it kind of worked. I'll keep my finger there. And then just pop a sentiment inside as well if you want to. We'll just do that quickly. It'd have probably been better if I'd have just left it. And we're done. So that is the first card done, complete. Hallelujah. I hope you all like that one. I'm trying to find a gap to put that out of the way. So quick recap on what we've used here. So we used the hickory smoke, lost shadow and black soot inks. We used the VersaFine Onyx Black, crystal clear embossing powder and some blending brushes. That is all we used on this one. Obviously Shining Star stamp set as well, sorry. The stencil we used was our Funky Lines stencil. But let me just show you, as I said, I played about quite a lot last night. So that was the finished card that we've just done. You watched me do that from start to finish. Thank you, Eileen. Thank you, Elizabeth. But a couple of little other things that I did play about with. So I did it on black card with white ink, and I used VersaCraft ink for this one. And then I just took a couple of little sentiments that are in the Matrix stamp set that fit really well in here as well. So that's one little idea. I played about, I wasn't keen on this one, so I did it, I liked it until I did the stamping on it, and then I didn't particularly like it. And again, use the matrix on there, but this is the 3 colours that we're going to be using today on the others. And then I did it with some browns, and then I did a lighter version, so that's just the residue that was left on the actual stencil, and I just rubbed it through. So they're just a couple of other ideas and styles that you could use, but I did really like it with the black, the white on black. So there's a couple of different ideas with that particular stencil. So let me put these out of our way so I don't make too much of a mess, and we will start on the next one. As I say, I have prepped quite a lot of this ahead, because otherwise it takes, I'm going to be honest, it's not a card that you're going to sit down and do in 10 minutes. You may need sort of about an hour-ish, hour and a half maybe, for this one. But as I said, I have prepped loads of it ahead, so you won't have to sit and watch me do it for an hour and a half. Get the right way around, or we'll be messing about with the brush. There we go. So the next one we're going to be doing has quite a lot of parts to it. Right, are you ready? You might need a pen and paper, should have warned you. So you are going to be using 2 8x8 cards. I like the white on black, Catherine, too. Now with the 8x8, it's entirely up to you. I have trimmed the tiniest amount off the edge of this one. And when I say the tiniest amount, I kept it just to show you how much I trimmed off. That's how much I trimmed off. Just because, and again, it's completely your choice, for them to butt up close, you need to get rid of a little bit of that card. As I said, it's entirely up to you whether you do that. The worst that can happen is you're going to have a tiny little gap, which sometimes I'm quite happy to have. In my head, what I was planning to do for this card, which, as I said to you earlier, didn't quite pan out, I needed to have them butted up right close to each other. But I'm quite pleased with what did come out. Pat, what do you mean? It is one of those cards I like. So, as you know, gatefold card, 2 8x8 cards stuck together, and I've just folded the front covers back on themselves. So I'm just going to stick those together really, really quickly, so that I have got 2 pieces instead of 1, and I'm not going to fight it all the way through. So just let me do this, and then we'll go on to the other side, as this is giving you all a bit of time to get your card, to get your pen and paper together. So 2 8x8 cards, and then I need to keep these out of the way, because otherwise you'll see a sneak peek. So we have a black piece which is 7.5 by 7.5, and a white piece which is 7.25 by 7.25. This is where you're not going to like me, ladies and gents. So as you well know, a lot of 8x8 cards are not true 8x8 size. The envelopes are the 8x8, so this causes us a little bit of a hiccup, so to speak. So you need 4 pieces of black in 7.5 by 3 9/16. See, look, and I told you you wouldn't like me. And then you need 4 pieces of white cardstock, 7.25 by 3 5/16. I know it's not fun, but it just means that you get the right size borders all the way around. Change it to what suits you if you're not happy with that. You need 1 piece of thin piece of cardstock, which is 1 inch wide by 7 inches long. You're going to score that at 1/4 inch 1.5 inch, 2 1/4 inch, 4 1/4 inch, 5.5 and 6 1/4 inch, which we will then change the colour of. I'll give you the sneak peek. It's to give you this little piece, that's all. So it sounds horrendous, all those little bits of scoring. That's the worst you can do. You just need to give yourself a little pop-up. That's what it's for. And then we change the colour of that because it just was too white. White was too white. What else do we need? You then need a piece of black, which is 5 5/8 square, and the white, which is 5.5 inch square. You need some scrap paper that's big enough to fit that star on and to do your sentiment. Right, Pat, which piece do you need me to say again? So we'll go through the whole lot again. It's probably easier, isn't it? So we have 2 8x8 cards. Then we've got one at 7.5 inch square, which is the black one. A white piece at 7 1/4 inch square. 4 pieces of black cardstock at 7.5 by 3 5/16. 4 pieces of white cardstock at 7 1/4 by 3 5/16. The strip is 7 inches by 1 inch, and it's scored at 1/4 inch, 1.5 and 1 1/4. Sorry, start again. 3/4 inch, 1.5 inches, 2 1/4 inches, 4 1/4 inches, 5.5 and 6 1/4. Let me know if you need, or you can always email me and I can give you those measurements again if that makes it easier. Then you have a piece which is 5 5/8 black cardstock square, and a white piece which is 5.5 inch square. You also need a scrap piece which is for your star and your sentiments. Now, phew. So we are going to do a bit of blending first, because we need to blend it to stamp on it. We're also going to be using our paint splodgers stencil. Now, lots of people say to me, I've got the paint splodgers stamp, so I don't need the stencil. The beauty of the stencil You've been on parade. Oh, that sounds like you're a bit posh. But we'll forgive you, Tina. Hopefully you'll be able to catch up and enjoy. You've actually come in right when we're starting the second card, so that's pretty good. So we're using the stencils, as I said, and people have said that they've already got the stamps, so why would they need the stencils? The beauty of the stencils is you can put it on at different, you don't have to be quite so heavy with it. How can I explain that? You can blend through them, you can do all sorts of different looks with them rather than just the stamp. Carol, I will email this card. I better put a post on Facebook with the measurements, I think, of this card today. You might not like it, Carol. Who knows? So we are going to start working on these. Bear with me while I just get myself organised, because I've got to remember which bits I've got to make and which bits I've already done, and I might cry. Okay, so every piece of white, bar this piece, which started off life like this, needs to have this blending done to it. So all the white has got to have this blending done to it. I have done most of it already. I'm just pre-warning you that there's some blending. So load my brush up, and I'm going to go about 1/3 of the way up the card with each colour. So the way I try and do it is I don't go too harsh on the section that I'm planning to blend into the next one. Don't worry if you do. What's the worst that can happen? You have to redo it, or you accept what you've done and just be happy with the fact that you've got some colour down. It is just entirely up to you how you do this. There is no right or wrong. If you're not happy with the way it's blended, Turn it over and try it on the other side. There's nothing that says it has to be done a set way. My carved pumpkin needs a refill, so it's going to take me a little bit of time. But I've found that the trick is just not to go too heavy where you're joining the colours. And don't forget, you need to join the colours, so you're going to blend slightly over the top of the previous colour and then take the original colour back and help that work in. Again, you can go as heavy or as light as you want. All I'm also going to say is either use a post-it if you've got one. In fact, I'm going to use some post-it on a reel, or put some tissue paper or something down. You don't want to touch the colour underneath with your fingers because it will start to lift off. The oils in your fingers will lift that off. So we've got Squeezed Lemonade, Carved Pumpkin and Barn Door on this one. And as I said, my Carved Pumpkin needs a little bit of a refill, so it's going to test me a little. So if it's not perfect, I'm not going to argue with it today. Just keep going until you're happy with the colours that you've got down. I think I'll get a little bit more yellow in there, but I'm going to avoid the red that's on my mat. So you're going to blend every piece of white that's like this. Okay? I'm going to have to use some wet wipe and get this up because don't want to be here for the next 3 hours, but I think we've probably got about another 15 to 20 minutes of me waffling, I'm afraid, ladies and gents. And obviously if you've got any ink on your hands, just be a little bit careful. Before you go any further, you are going to use your stencil. Now be careful again, try and avoid these harsh edges. I've tried to get as much on here as possible, so just be mindful of those edges and things when you're doing this. You can, if you want to, I was going to say tape that down because that might move, just as I did it. Thankfully it wasn't a colour that's going to stand out hugely on here. So as I said, Carved Pumpkin is in desperate need of a little bit of re-inking, so we're having to work him a little bit harder. That one you can hardly see up there, so we will come down here with it as well, so you can see a little bit down here. Just again, be careful, don't be doing this and then be sticking your fingers all over it. But this is what I mean, you can get the different shading of the paint splodge rather than it be a solid image that you've stamped. So that's the beauty of a stencil over, now I've got a little bit of a smudge there, so this is perfect. I'm going to go in there with some red and that smudge doesn't exist anymore. I think we'll go with a bit of the Squeezed Lemonade. Now Squeezed Lemonade isn't going to show up hugely on any of the colours, but it's just nice to kind of bring it in a little bit as well. And on the naked eye it shows up more than it's going to on the screen. We'll take in some more red down here, I think, at the top of that, because that's not seen at all. But see, I don't have to, it's kind of got a little bit of a almost watercolory effect to it. So you don't have to be solid colours with it. Which is what I quite like about having the stencil option as well as the stamp option. Now I'm going to be stamping onto this with the Shining Star large star, so I'm conscious of where I'm trying to be a bit more conscious about where the colour's being laid down so that it gets picked up within the star. But that again is up to you. You don't have to think about things like that if you don't want that to be part of your design. Don't think that's going to show up there, but we'll try. It did. So that's kind of the look I'm going for, and as I say, if you look in this corner here, I haven't gone so heavy-handed on the stencil, so you can see that you get that different texture to it rather than it just be the solid image. Just gonna, now again with this stencil you've got quite a lot of little bits and pieces that stick out and stick up, and so just be a bit more cautious. Don't give it a good old scrub. Just wipe over it gently, because if you give it a good old scrub you're going to bend stuff and snap bits off, and that's not what you want to do. So you're going to do that exact same thing on every single piece of white cardstock that's there. The only piece you're not doing it to is that long skinny piece that you score, and all I did was literally take the blending brush over the top, purely because when we start putting this together that stood out really white and I didn't like that. So we again need this to be dry, so I'm going to just heat this up a little bit to help it on its way. The shading when you do it like that does look really like a watercolour finish to it. Now I don't know if it's my screen or if it's bouncing for you as well, because I'm kind of seeing it bounce off the iPad in front of me. So hopefully someone can let me know if that is bouncing, and if it is I'll try and reposition some bits so that you can maybe see it a little bit easier. So we've got our big star, and we're going to anti-static, where have I put my anti-static bag? There we go. Anti-static that because I just want to give it as much of a chance as possible to be dry to stamp onto. Clearly if you have the time I would do that piece first because it's the only piece you're actually going to be stamping on. Hindsight meant maybe I should have chosen a different piece to show you on and had that already stamped, but I haven't, so I have to get on with it. So lots and lots of ink on your stamp. Now I want to get a sentiment out of this as well, so I'm just thinking about where I'm positioning this, because I would quite like to try and get all three colours blended through, a little bit of the interest, but also have the room for that sentiment as well. Well, that's where it's going to be, and hopefully it's not bouncing. Hopefully, Susan, if it's not for you then it's not for everybody else, it's just me seeing my reflection coming off that iPad as well. It's a big stamp, so make sure you have the time to press that all in there. I missed a little bit of ink up the top there. I was a bit tight with the ink, I think. But you'll get the idea. And then embossing powder all over the top of that. this embossing powder has it in for me today. So again, I'm going to heat from underneath. And also, when you are heating this from underneath, do be cautious of your hands. It does get hot under there. Right. Now, I'm going to be cutting this out. So before I cut it out, I'm just going to say to you that I would probably pop my sentiment space on here at the same time. Now, all I have done, I've done it ahead of time, is taken this lovely square and stamped it out with black ink and heat embossed it. It's a great way if you don't want to keep using extra layers and layers and layers, or if you want your border to be the exact same colour as the rest of it. So this little piece of little stamp here is perfect for that. So all I did, and obviously the sentiments that are in this collection fit in here as well, so it's really handy for that. So that is literally, I just found a section within this piece and just stamped it out and cut it out. So you're going to cut your star out. I have got one cut out already, but I think I might like this one better. And that's the thing, you never know how they're going to turn out either. So if you get going on this and enjoy doing it, do a few different ones, and then you've already got them ready for the next card. Now I am using a big pair of scissors here. They're not anything special scissors, they're just a larger blade. It makes it a little bit easier to get that straight line. Saying that as I literally went completely off-piste. Catherine, it is such a fab stamp set. I will be using this multiple times. And that stencil that or the two stencils we've used today, both fabulous for all age groups and styles. So if you find that when you cut it out, which quite often will happen because of the way you're cutting it out, that your star curls up a little bit, just grab yourself a pencil and just run it over those points, and that will bring it back down to flat again. So as I said, we did one earlier, and we did quite a few bits of paper earlier. So every single white piece that you've seen has to be coloured. So I'm just getting everything together now, because you've already seen some of it, but you didn't know you had. So bear with me. So, oh, it's not letting me pick it up. We have one piece that we did earlier. Now that is going to be stuck down in the centre. Now I always do the big centre piece first when I make this style of card. We've blocked up. because I like to line all the squares and sides up. So get that square and as central as you can, and then, and obviously think about this when you're putting it together. Catherine, yes, we will have them. Hopefully we'll have them at that workshop. The plan is to have them there. Quite often, those of you that haven't watched before, as I'm going through making these cards, I put pieces together because there are so many, particularly when they are like this. So think about how you're doing this, because I'm not sure if you're seeing me, or if I've frozen. I'm going to sit still for a minute because somebody else is trying to ring. This never happens these days. Fingers crossed that didn't interrupt too much. As I was saying, with this particular card, when you've blended and we're doing multiple layers, blend them all the same way. Otherwise, it might look a bit weird. So let's get all our pieces. Oh, I say blend them all the same way. Yeah, blend them all the same way, and position them down the same way, because it might look quite funky. Some up one way and some up the other, but I personally think they'll look nicer if they are all up the same way. But that might just be my OCD. So as I said, you didn't realise you'd seen them earlier, but you did. So these are all our panels. I'm going to swap this one over and I'll explain why in a moment. I mean, you could put one up one way and one up the other, and you can do it like that. It looks quite cool actually. I personally am going to put them all up the same way, but that's just because of my OCD. So we're all going in this direction. And I'm going to stick all of these down as well, because then, as I say, less pieces on the table. Put that to one side for a second. Right, so I'm going to try, wherever possible, to line these two pieces up in height. That's my plan, Stan. Hi, Louisa. Oh, at least we didn't freeze. Thank you for that info. Maybe we've cracked that bit then. You might just hear a bit of a funny noise on the other end, I don't know. So we are sticking this down. Louisa, you've come in. I don't know if you've been watching in the background or if you've just arrived. But you are more than welcome to go back and watch us on catch up if you want to see how we did all of this. So as I said, every single piece of that white cardstock that we told you about in the measurements needs to be cut. The reason I kept this piece for the front is, the eagle-eyed of you may notice or may not notice, I have two little black marks on it because I had ink on my fingers. And when this card is closed up and we put the front panel on, it covers those two pieces. So don't ever panic that you've made a mess or something. Right, so this is going to be our front panel. You can go up the same way. You can go around the opposite direction. As you know, I'm going to go up the same way. So that was the white piece that we did that piece with. Now, this is the star I've just done. This was the star I did yesterday. And I don't know which one I like better now. The one, do you know why it's bugging me? Because the one I did yesterday had a hair on the stamp. When I cleaned it off, it had some stuff still on it from the... I'm going with the one from today. It had some bits and pieces, fluff still on it from the white that I'd used, and that has annoyed me. And I was trying to come up with ways that I could cover it, but I wasn't managing to. So I obviously wasn't meant to cover it. I was obviously meant to use today's star. So we are going to stick that star down. Now you can, if you want to, stamp that star straight onto that piece of cardstock. But if it goes wrong, you've got to redo the whole thing. Whereas if you take the time to cut it out. Now, I can't remember who it was at the start who said that they had a 21st birthday card to make. You could stick a 21 in the middle of this and you'd be done. Now remember, this is going to be going on the front, so you're only going to stick one side, because otherwise when you open it, you wouldn't be able to open it, would you? But before I stick that down, we're going to come back in with, so I coloured this and I have scored it. I will put the information on the Facebook page today. I think the one I did today works better. Oh, and Carol, you thought the first one. Hi Helen, you've missed loads, so you have to go back and watch us if you want to. We've done 2 cards today. So this one is the 7 by 1 inch, and it is scored at 3/4 of an inch, 1.5 inches, 2.25 inches, 4.25 inches, 5.5 inches, and 6.25 inches, and then it's just folded as a concertina. Find my little sentiment that I have here somewhere. So as I mentioned earlier, I did the sentiment before. Now the choice is yours. You can put your pop-up piece down first, or you can put your sentiment on first. Now I'm going to put my sentiment on, because then if I don't get my sentiment perfectly centered on my pop-up, it doesn't really matter, because my pop-up can just get positioned where it works. Yay, Tracy. Hopefully it'll work for you. Fingers crossed. I like to be a bit helpful sometimes. So we've got our little pop-up. Up the right way round. And we'll put that in the middle there. Now I did cut out a few extra stars thinking I might use them, but I don't know if I'm going to. I think I might just leave them out. I suppose if you wanted to, you could take half that star and pop it on there as well. Nah. Do I like that? No. I don't know. I don't think so. I think I'm just trying to use up something that I haven't. Maybe if I'd have put that in the middle of the card and then the sentiment on top, that might have worked. Too late now anyway. That's where we're at. So we're going to pop our front on there now. Remember, you're only going to glue on 1/3. Hi Gay. Put your card together and stick down. You forgot it was Thursday. I'm not surprised. This week has just flown by. And that is our card finished. I'm still thinking I quite like that in there. Somehow. I wonder if I can get that off. Yeah, it's still... We'll stick it back in the same place otherwise. We're going for it. I'm going for it, ladies and gents. I'm going for it. My God, 1 hour and 15 minutes, my goodness. Decision made and it's going in. So if you want, you could put two in there, or just leave it with 1. But I had the extra, so we're going in with it. Put a little bit more glue on our pop-up. And we can cover up where I had that mark that I didn't like. Oh, hey. So, we're done. And as I said, those paint splodgers just finish it off. And you can get the shading in there however you want it. You could pop a couple of extra little stars on here if you wanted to, in different colours, so that it popped out a little bit more. However you want, really. It's entirely up to you what you do with this card. But yeah, I like that star in the middle. Hope everybody else does. Now, bear with me. I just need to quickly put some of these bits away so that we can run through what we've used, and then I'll stop waffling. Because if I don't do this, everything will get ruined. Fortune favours the brave, Emma. You are very true. Don't know how brave I was. I'm glad you all liked it. And we all got that little tip that I hadn't known about, and how many years have I been using oxides, that if you missed it, your lid fits perfectly underneath. So bear with me. I'm nearly cleared this out of the way, and then we can get everything out like I've done through what we've used, and then I'll get out of your way. So final look at this card quickly. I will post it up, and then obviously we've got that pop-up in there as well. And you can do it in absolutely any colour as well, which is the beauty of using your stamps and stencils to make your cards, rather than using a patterned paper, because you don't always have enough of that patterned paper. So the colours we have used today are Black Soot, Hickory Smoke and Lost Shadow, Squeeze Lemonade, Carved Pumpkin and Barn Door. Oh, I'm going to drop it all, everybody. I dropped it. Crystal clear embossing powder. We've used the glue that comes in the 2 sizes. We have used our blending brushes, which come in the 2 sizes. And we've used Versa Fine Onyx Black. The cardstock we used is 250 GSM Super Smooth. We also do that in a 300 GSM. And then we have the cardstock. We do it in 120, which is kind of a paperweight, and 300, which is the heavier cardstock weight. And the new products we used are Shining Star, which has "Thank you, you're a star. Well done to you. Congratulations to you. Happy birthday to you. Shine like the star you are." And then obviously those little extra stars, the little spots and dots, and then you've got the frame as well that fits the sentiments. We've used Funky Line Stencil, and we used the Paint Splats Stencil and masks. And the 2 cards we completed are 1, 2. So hopefully you've all enjoyed those. Now back to me. Sorry, you've got me. A couple of things for you to be told about that we've got coming up. We have Bedford Craftorama this weekend. So that's at the Bedford International Athletics Stadium, and that's on Sunday at 10 AM start. If you book your tickets in advance, you can get in at 9:30, so you get a little head start on everybody. Next Facebook Live will be on, can you believe, the 2nd of November. Where has this year gone? 2 o'clock, Thursday the 2nd of November. We are being asked an awful lot when we're back on TV. I know there's been quite a gap this time. We are back on TV, Create and Craft, on I think it's Tuesday or Wednesday, the 8th of November at 7 PM in the evening. So hopefully you can join us there. And last but not least for this year, we have got the Motorcycle Museum Excalibur Papercraft Show on the 25th of November. So I think that's everything. Can't think of anything else. Remember, those of you that are interested, we've still got some spaces available on those workshops that I told you about. One in Newcastle on the 21st of April, the Ravenwood Hall Hotel Rougham, just outside Bury St Edmunds, on the 27th of January. And a couple of places left for our November Coventry one because a couple of ladies have had to cancel. So if you are interested, please pop on our website or ping me an email and I can answer any questions, or give me a call. I'm quite happy to answer questions over the phone. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know, an hour and 21 minutes. I hope that's been long enough for everybody and not too short. Yeah, I think everybody, that's probably a little bit longer than we would normally do. But as I said, that card was one that was in my head and it had to come out. So we will speak to you all soon. So next Facebook Live, the 2nd of November at 2 p.m. Have a lovely week.